All right, Brian sent me an NES, so one game I knew I had to get for NES would be the original Dragon Warrior. So that's what I'm playing today.
Oh,
Dragon
I
Warrior
didn't know that.
1.
Nice.
Yeah.
What?
Did you know I'm a Dragon Quest fan? It's been about 3 to 4 years since I played the original back with Spencer. I played back then a Super Famicom version of it and a translation patch, which is probably the best way to play. But I had never played the NES version. I think I tried it and it was very antiquated. But now that I have the antiquated hardware, I figured it's worth the shot. I really love this experience of just like taking an NES cart, wiggling it in
It's
the
great, isn't
little
it?
NES toaster box, and just the idea of like playing the original Dragon Warrior cart is it's fantastic. It actually just feels like the original RPG. Everything from the text, to the mechanics. There's some to love and some to hate, but I'll start with what I love. It just feels like a classic RPG. This is, if I was to characterize Dragon Warrior 1, it is the original grinding RPG where every level matters, every piece of equipment you're able to obtain, and the gold you save up matters because it dictates how far you can progress along the world. For instance, I would not be able to take down one of these, I think they're called magicians, if I did not have a level 4 main hero. It is the one party member RPG, turn based RPG, which is not common. There may be other examples like that I'm not aware of. But this is, it's the starting point for that. And it just feels so classic. It's got the simple loops, but they're so charming. The chip tune loops as they play. Da, 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 da. Yeah. And it's really just impressive what they were able to come up with. 86, 87, I want to say. We got it in 80,
Yeah, we got an 89.
89.
Yeah, 88,
But
89.
the game was done in Japan before that. I had a great time just kind of putting it on, grinding. Battles go down in a sec. Oops, finish the slime. Good. Got 1 gold, 2 XP, move on. And you could walk 2 steps or you could walk 20 before you get into another encounter. It's a game of discovery where you discover new towns around you. And it's really cool. I really like the like language and stuff, and kind of like trying to figure
same.
out what am I supposed to do, who am I supposed to talk to, and some of the systems are pretty competent for one of the first turn-based RPGs. Even from seeing your like equipment on the menu, how it affects your stats. They're very simple. It's like attack, defense, and there's some other one.
Run,
I don't
attack,
know.
magic, I think.
Yeah, well, you have the basic ones too, HP, MP, etc. It's all there. Where it gets complicated is the quality of life stuff isn't all there. For instance, even from the start, when you start in the king's room and you go to the stairs, you walk over the stairs, and it's like, huh, why am I standing over the stairs? You have to go to the menu to press a button that says stairs. Now, granted, does it happen that much in the game where you're stepping over stairs? No, but it is a little nuisance. Or if I go up to somebody to talk, I'm used to in games just pressing A. Okay, talk. No, you go to the menu and then you press talk. Clearly, it's a very early example, but I really like what I played. I like the style. I like even just kind of like the old English language. Thou hath receiveth a wooden stick or a cypress stick. And yeah, I really like it. It gets the job done. It's a good RPG. It is probably the classic, the one to own on the NES. Right now, of the 3 NES games I own, it's probably the most playable and the most enjoyable for me. So,
I'm so
Dragon
glad you
Warrior
got that
1.
one. That's a nice surprise. I didn't know you got that one. That's awesome. I'm glad you're playing the first day NES one. Awesome.
Soon to be of the 4 NES games. What? I'm sitting to the NES game right now. It's in the mail.
Let's go.
Ooh, nice.
I'm curious, now that you've played through basically all the Dragon Quests, do you look back at this differently? Or is it any different to you playing the original?
From an NES perspective, yes. I think one thing I'm struggling with is just the hardware because, my CRT is at my parents' house. So I'm playing on a mini HD TV with an NES, which isn't great. There is no great alternative for HDMI or the NES. I know Brian mentioned hooking up to a VCR
Yeah.
player. I don't have
HD
one.
DVD or DVD recorder. You can pass it through there and hook HDMI out to your TV.
So the fuzzies, I don't know what it's outputting in 144 or 240, but it like tires my eyes looking at the screen for more than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So just from like a hardware perspective, it's you actually have to have the right stuff to play it. Like, granted, I could also get a Retron, you know, or one of these other NES clones. I know that adapters tend to cause lag, but it's not a big deal for Dragon Warrior because it's turn based. So in that respect, I'm struggling a little bit, but I'm still enjoying it and willing to kind of put up with it. From a gameplay perspective, I think it's just refreshing to see how intact it still is. And also, you know, the other ones, they're not like story heavy per se, but there is more story, whereas this one is just the meat and potatoes. This is the action experience. It's the get out of town and grind, go save. Like, I guess there's the go save the princess arc. Story is really a backseat to in this one. But I think it is the one where the grinding is the most felt. So in that respect, like from a gameplay perspective, I kind of really like that, and it's very simple. You know, it's just like meat and potatoes. You know, it's nothing fancy, but it's really good when you eat it. So that's how I feel about Dragon Warrior 1, the meat and potatoes of turn-based RPGs.
Yeah, it's very good. I mean, one thing you can get into, I don't know if you figured out, when you have one character and you're under leveled, sometimes you get into this situation where you hit some guy and he attacks you and hits you, but you have to heal. So you heal, okay, I'm up, so I attack again, and then he heals, and you kind of get into this like situation where you're not making any progress because you're constantly healing every turn. You don't have somebody to help you, you know, another party member to pick you up. But that's just a small thing for leveling. That you go through. There is I don't know if you know this, but on the NES version, there's this little section when you go from Tantagel. If you go southwest, there's mountains that you can't pass. It's like these mountains that you can't walk on, and then there's these cragged mountains you can't. If you walk back and forth there, you'll fight magicians, drakies, and other higher level enemies, and you can level up a lot quicker if you go there. It was an overlap in the zones that you could actually fight there without going around the map. So that's what I usually do So if you want to start it again, make it go a little faster, you can just fight down in that, just walk back and forth there, and you can gain up to level 5, 6 pretty quickly until you get heal, and then you can go a little further. And it's all about like equipment check the game basically, because you got one party member. It's you feel the levels, like you said, like when you get a level, it's significant. Like you feel it. You can hit harder. You get a new spell, which makes a big difference. You can use hurt to hurt the scorpions now because your attack was too strong, not weak enough. And it's basically just equipment check the game. It's very simple, like you said. There's only a few things you can buy, and like, granted, I don't know if you ran into this problem. Like, you don't know what's stronger in a shop because they don't list it on your status bar, but you can just look that up online now. Or did you get the a cart only, or did you get like a complete?
I got the card only, but there's like a box repro thing on Etsy that I'm going to check out, where you could also get manuals reprinted. I know like this game came with a map. I don't know if I need it. I printed out a guide a long time ago, so maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll get the Nintendo Power one, or check one of your scans that talks about it. I do want to come back to that question though, because I think that as far as the Dragon Quest series as a whole, this is not the chef's kiss. You know, this is not the one that pulls at the heartstrings when you come into like a town of frozen people or something, you know? Like there's so many instances of that in future Dragon Quest games after the NES, and this ain't it. this is go fight monsters in the field and beat the game, which is refreshing because so much of the series isn't like that.
But it's still shared. You can see the bones of what's to come in this one.
I don't. Maybe we do spoilers here or something. But do you? Maybe we can avoid them. It's up to you. Do you feel like they had 1, 2, and 3 planned at this point, or at least some kind of idea for it? And the reason,
They
obviously,
mentioned
yeah,
Erdrick,
exactly.
right? In this game. I think they probably just planned around it after the fact.
I think
Because 2 is a sequel, but then why would 3 be a prequel? Like logically, like usually you make a trilogy like starting from the beginning point.
Hmm.
So it could have been like a rough idea. Who knows?
yeah, they rushed. One was a success, and they wanted Chunsoft wanted another one, so they had a year turnaround to make 2. And I think if it was planned, they did a heck of a job in such a short amount of time. So I don't know. I don't know if he had it in mind, stuff he couldn't do. I think probably Hori might have said somewhere, I don't know, but there was stuff in one that he wanted to do, like multiple party members and stuff. Maybe, I'm not sure. I kind of remember saying that, but he couldn't do in the time, because this was their first game he was making for Spike Chunsoft or Chunsoft. So he couldn't. He was just making it to put it out there. And I think they did take like multiple party members and stuff in too. And maybe from 'cause I don't know how you design a game, but there was probably talks about how should we connect the world. So I'm gonna say like more. If it was me, if I was thinking, I'd probably say like his ideas for what he wanted to do, like gameplay wise, were more planned out than the story. The story probably just came together as the game was coming together.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess. And then by 3,
Right.
I think 3, he would probably had something more in mind because he had more like the developer like really gave him like the time probably to. I don't know how far 3 was from 2.
I just think it's so interesting that in the first one they had that weird. It just seems like not normal, like that addition of the Erdrick stuff. It's like that's just interesting to me that they had that in there.
Well, they had to have a story, they had to have characters, so they had to probably just threw it together at the time. So maybe he had something planned out, and that's the simplest he could do with what he could do. I don't know.
I mean, they are a year apart,
Yeah,
so I
so-
mean, it's possible it was all written and they couldn't fit it
Yeah.
in one NES cart. I don't know. 2 is a little more close to home because it's like you even start, and I mean, spoilers, I guess. You see the Dragon Lord's castle, and like there's a nice guy in it. So it's like they play with that a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, you go into his castle and you see his grandson there. I think it's his grandson, and he talks to you like you can get up the Erdrick sword in there, and he tells you to beat Malroth, and then you go out. Yeah, they had to have something planned because I would think so because like all of Dragon Quest One, Alfgard is in Torland is the overall map of Dragon Quest 1 and 2. The world is called Torland, and Alfgard is that little part in Dragon Quest 2 right in the center.
Mm-hmm.
And travel to. So I would think they probably had something planned out or they couldn't do maybe on their first one. I don't know.
Alex, you had something you want to ask or comment?
Yeah. Rate the box art. Rate the cover art of Dragon Warrior.
Me?
Yes, right now.
I would have to receive it. Do you have it?
I mean, you have the cartridge. It's the same thing.
Of the
same
cartridge or the box art?
picture. It's the same picture.
It's in my
Yeah, that.
It's in my NES. I didn't want to wiggle it out.
There you go.
Oh.
Brian's got it.
I love that.
Yeah, I can't.
As much as I
squint.
don't care about Dragon Quest, I love the Dragon Warrior box arts. I think they're so cool.
Yeah, this one is awesome.
So there's a first print and a second print. The first print has a misspelling. If you look on the back, it says the slime's hit points decrease by
Yeah, it's blurry.
by hits
cannot read
decrease
that.
by 1. Where in the re-release it says like the slime's HP reduces by 1. So this is the first. This is the Nintendo Power. It came with like some extra stuff. This is the Nintendo Power subscription version. It came with like. So the original version didn't come with this. This is basically a strategy guide that went through the whole game. So it basically spoiled the whole game for you.
Still cool to have.
Haven't you shown this before?
I might have. I don't know. But it's good because people were stupid here. They didn't know how to play these games, me included. And I'm saying I'm stupid because without this, I probably would have had a hard time with this game. Because before that, I got it in '89, I want to say, and for free. And I'd never played anything like this. But once I learned how to play it, it was very addicting. And that's part of the reason I like Dragon Quest so much, is just experience going through the first one, poring over this manual and figuring out what an RPG was, because I never played anything quite like this. But if you can find this, Teddy, I think this isn't too expensive. Maybe it goes for a few bucks, because these were produced like candy, and they produced so many of them that they gave them away for subscribers to Nintendo Power. So you can probably get this manual somewhere
in good condition. The box and the manual and the strategy guide, or I don't know if that is the manual. I think it's like goes around $60. That's with cart, and the cart's cheap. Like I get the cart for like $10.
I didn't know.
So I don't know. If needed, I don't need it to play it, but it would be a cool collector's item. I do want to eventually get each of the Dragon Warrior games that exist on NES.
They all have cool
I'll take my
box
time.
art.
There's no rush.
Yeah.
I am playing through the longest one right now, so I got time.
Akira
Well, I think
Toriyama
after
art or bust for me.
Well, I do like Teddy said, the
That's just
localization
Dragon
here.
Ball.
I do like the localization to Old English in the American version. There's something about Valen that I thought that was cool as a kid. And it wasn't until much later I knew even what Puff Puff was, because they didn't really have that in the first Dragon Quest. If they did,
until 3.
Yeah, so they took that out, I think, and then 3 had I think they were the NES version of 3. She sells you tomatoes. They didn't say Puff Puff. So I think you go to the desert town of Arakawa, something I forget what it's called, and then she says, "My dad sells you tomatoes" or something, instead of a Puff Puff. Because I guess tomatoes.
They fixed that in the remake.
Yeah, but there's charming. I like the Old English localizations of the NES ones.
Yeah, it's more playable than I thought. I was surprised. I thought it would be too difficult to get into, but it's really not. It's actually pretty good.
Because you got to think they made this to be an introduction of the PC games for Japanese players, so they couldn't make it overly difficult for them. They had to make it because they haven't played anything like this, so they had to put it out and make it very player friendly as they could, so they could get into it, get them hooked on it, so they could make more. It always comes back to the business. It's all about business. It's all about the money.
It's all about the he said, she said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. Glad you're playing Dragon Quest on the NES.
Yeah, Dragon Warrior.
Oh yeah, sorry, my mistake. Dragon Warrior. Next up is 2. Gotta get 2.
I thought you were gonna say next up is Alex.
Oh.
No, you guys just keep going on.
I think Alex fell asleep, I think.
All right, I'll tell you too about Dragon Warrior 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a nap.
No, I'm joking. Alex, Brian has summoned you back to the forefront.
Time for my
Hey y'all, don't forget to subscribe to them button mappers.